So we've spoken about the PlayStation 6 a few times, and it's crazy to think that in 2027 is when they plan to release the PlayStation 6. We all know what AI has done. It's increased the price of RAM, so there's been RAM shortages. It's just become super expensive to make consoles, to make even drives. I even got this 4 TB drive that I needed, and I got it like £150 more expensive because I delayed buying it. And it's not only with PlayStation, we've seen it with Xbox increasing prices, we've seen it with Nintendo Switch 2. That's been announced that there's going to be a price increase. So yes, we would like companies to actually be like, you know what, with all these price increases, we're going to keep the price the same. It's unfortunately the reality we live in. But with the PlayStation 6, we have got some news from Sony on what they might decide to do, because I think this is going to be one of the hardest sales for PlayStation, one of the hardest sales for a generation, and I'll explain why. So if you do enjoy these daily videos, let me know. We're trying to make it to 5,000 subscribers on this channel, so hit the like button, make sure you join the main channel, and let's go. So it's crazy to think near the end of the year, the PlayStation 5 has been out nearly 6 years and it still feels like quite fresh. It's really a weird thing. We've only got the PS5 Pro like last year, but not only that, we are only seeing the benefits of the PlayStation 5 Pro now with PSSR 2. It feels like only now I'm seeing the benefits of this very expensive console. But with the PlayStation 6, there was an article from Sony. It says that a price and a release date has not been decided from Sony, and they are changing business models to consider. And I think this is super important when it comes to the PlayStation 6, because I don't feel like it's going to be like any other generation anymore. There's one of two ways they can go about this. Would they be able to get the console at around £600? You would think not, and I think not, because since the PlayStation 5 was £700 at launch, it's now gone up in price to £780. For me, there's no doubt that the PlayStation 6 would be more expensive than the PlayStation 5 Pro. Therefore, you could be looking at a £900, even £1,000 console. How do you plan to get those in households where we live in a world where, you know, governments take the absolute piss? Living conditions are very hard, mortgages, rents, food, everything. I've gone through this in another video. So according to this article here, Sony has revealed it's yet to decide on a release date or price for the next gen and the eventual PlayStation 6. So Hiroki Totoki shared the news on the Q&A for a fiscal year of 2025 earnings report. So what he said was that he was responding to a question on the increased cost of components and how this will have an impact on the console. So he goes, "We have not yet decided on what timing we will launch the new console or what prices. So we would like to really observe and follow the situation. Due to the expected short supply in the fiscal year 2027, Sony expects the price of memory to remain high. So under that assumption, we must think carefully what we will do. One consideration is new potential ways to sell the PS6, according to VGC's reporting. We would like to think about various simulations, including changing business models to come up with the best solution and strategy," said Totoki. Interesting the way they say new potential ways to sell the PS6. What does that even mean? Does that mean, I don't know, Klarna? Does that mean renting a console? I doubt it. I'm trying to think of what they mean by new potential ways to sell the PS6. Does that mean the inevitable handheld that will be launched alongside the console, where you could play PS5 games and PS6 games, but it will be less quality, but it will be much cheaper, so people have a different price point of entering that new generation whilst they don't feel left out? Now they do say, speaking to sources, claim Sony has been targeting a 2027 with a handheld device to go with it. Xbox, the next generation systems, currently codenamed Project Helix, is reportedly set for a release next year. And obviously this was the results they did for the votes, and I think I voted for 2028. I think that's a good amount of time. I just still think next year is way too early for a PlayStation 6. Now, I know for sure for me, my situation's different. I've now got a new family. We were in a house with a mortgage. I do invest a lot in games. So to be able to drop maybe £800, £900 on a console, I wouldn't be able to do that day one. And a lot of people won't be able to, because it's freaking expensive. And not only that, why I think this is going to be the hardest generation for Sony, the hardest generation to sell a new console for, is because, first of all, the PlayStation 5 doesn't feel like it's old hardware. The PS5 Pro doesn't feel like it's old hardware at all. It's only new hardware now. And like I said, we're only getting the benefits now. What would be the reason for people to fork out hundreds of pounds on a new console? For me, the PS4 was seeing its age. Mine was on the brink of collapse. All of these later games that came out were struggling to run on the PlayStation 4. Loading screens, frame rates. It felt warranted to buy a new console, and we saw it with what they were offering. New games, 60 FPS, performance modes, no loading screens. I'm trying to think what they would want to do or how they could sell this and be like, you need this next generation PlayStation 6. I've said it before, but there's a number of things what they could do. For me, it's games. There hasn't been enough exclusive PlayStation 5 games compared to like the PS4 generation. Don't get me wrong, I've felt very, very happy with the games we've got, but don't get me wrong, I want to see more first-party, story-driven games on the PlayStation 5. But not only that, is the only way I think is that you bring out games that are just people have been craving for and been asking for so long, and they're a day one purchase on the PlayStation 6. I've said it before, like a Days Gone 2. I really don't think there's any other game Ben's studio could be working on. If you ask any PlayStation fan or Sony fan or gamer, what do you want Ben's studio to do next? 95% would say Days Gone 2. So it makes you think, just make a Days Gone 2. Make it exclusive as a launch title on the PlayStation 6. Personally, that would be a reason to try and save up for this console, because everyone's been craving for a Days Gone 2. You know, Bloodborne 2, Bloodborne Remake, whatever you want to call it, but there has to be exclusive games. There has to be a reason for people to buy. But it comes to the other side of the coin where if you start doing that, then you are alienating a massive fan base who are not going to upgrade to the PlayStation 6 day one. I do believe they have said that, you know, there's going to be cross-generation in the next generation. We've seen it quite a long time with the PlayStation 4. That's probably because they found it very hard to sell and get stock in for the PlayStation 5. People wanted the PlayStation 5. There was just not enough stock. But the problem is that if you alienate certain games and they cost 200 million to make, you're now offering it to a very small fan base who have got the PlayStation 6. So then it got me thinking, there is another strategy Sony can do. What if they decide to do what Xbox is inevitably going to do, is release a very, very expensive console? They are going to look to make money on that console as opposed to selling it at a loss and then making money through all of the software and the game. It could be like, you know what, it's going to cost £950 to buy this console. Screw it. We're only going to cater to the people who have got money and the people that are very, very enthusiastic about buying our hardware. That is another potential where we've been used to every generation, PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4 and PS5, where people are like, yep, I want to buy the next generation console. I hear it in the community, I hear it in the streams. This will probably be the first time I don't buy a console day one, just because, first of all, the money, and second of all, I don't see the importance to getting one because I've got a really great console here. We could easily get more games, and we want more games on the PlayStation 5. So it's a very difficult one for the PlayStation 6, but it's going to be a very interesting one to know what Sony decide to do. Do they try and get it at a price point where they can mass sell? Will they have exclusive games where they're not coming out on the PlayStation 5 so it warrants everyone and gives them that motivation to buy one? Or will they think, screw it, we're just going to cater for a small minority and sell it at a profit? But what do you think about the next generation? What do you think about the PlayStation 6 and its price point? I want to hear your thoughts. Would you buy it? Would you wait? What would motivate you to buy it? And what year would you want it to come out? Are you happy for it to come out 2028? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know.